Hi, this is John Yarmuth talking to you from Washington, D.C. It is the 8th of April on Friday afternoon, and we now are on the verge of a shutdown of the government, unfortunately, I might add. And I thought I would take this opportunity to just address a few of the questions that we get from a lot of our Louisville neighbors, and so that we can have an idea of how we got to this point and what will happen if, in fact, the government shuts down at midnight tonight. First of all, we've been operating this year without an annual budget. We've been operating on the basis of periodic, what are called continuing resolutions, which is an agreement on how we fund all the agencies of the federal government for a period of time. The last continuing resolution we passed expires at midnight tonight, and we have been unable to come to agreement on how to fund the government through the end of the fiscal year, which ends September 30th. So we've been working on what is essentially the 2010 budget levels up to this point. Republicans in the House have insisted on very, very deep cuts in many of the programs that affect our most vulnerable populations: seniors, low-income families with children, people who get Pell Grants to support their educational pursuits. And unfortunately, while those cuts may or may not be arguably needed, the very wealthiest Americans and corporations, oil companies, Wall Street banks, and other companies and individuals who have done extremely well over the last 20 years have not been asked to suffer even the slightest inconvenience. So many of us on the Democratic side of the Congress have said, we understand the need for cuts in spending, that we need to get our fiscal house in order. But if you put the entire burden of those cuts on the most vulnerable populations, that's unfair. And so we've been unwilling to go along with the Republican strategy of these reckless cuts, I think, in very important programs. And we now face a situation in which the House, as of yesterday, the Republican majority passed another version of the continuing resolution for 1 week, asking for $12 billion more in cuts, again, on food programs, things like our Weed and Seed program, which has been very effective in attacking crime in our lower-income neighborhoods in Louisville, things like education programs, again, and nutrition programs. And they have been unwilling to ask, again, the wealthiest Americans and corporations to do anything. In addition, there have been some ideological issues that they have advanced in these documents, trying to, for instance, prohibit the Environmental Protection Agency from enforcing the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act. This is unacceptable. If they want to change those laws, they ought to change them, not defund the agency that's responsible for enforcing our laws. They've also been adamant about trying to cut funds for women's health programs. And again, these are things that can be debated and resolved in another setting. This is about funding the government, funding our troops, funding our seniors, funding our education programs, and they shouldn't be held hostage by ideological debates. But that's where we are. It's unlikely at this point that there will be a resolution, and it looks like the government will shut down for a short period of time. Now, as long as it remains a short period of time, most Louisvillians and most Americans won't be impacted. But there are, for instance, 7,000 federal employees in Louisville many of whom will be furloughed if they're not considered essential employees. There's 6,000 retirees who also will be impacted. And if the shutdown moves along past this weekend, and I certainly hope it doesn't, then there will be more impacts. If you happen to be looking for help with your tax returns, the IRS office won't be able to do that. If you're applying for a small business loan, you won't be able to do that. If you're trying to renew your passport, there will be problems with doing that. And again, the longer the shutdown would go, the more people would be impacted. I certainly hope that it doesn't go on for very long. My primary concern, I think all of our concerns, is that our troops receive their pay on time. I had the great privilege of talking to a woman soldier from Louisville in Iraq not too long ago, who said that she and her buddies were very concerned about their pay, their families receiving their paycheck, and also some of them were trying to come home wondering if they were actually going to be able to come home. And it was a very poignant and compelling conversation I had. And I assured her that we're going to do everything we can to make sure that they aren't stressed out about receiving their pay when they've already been stressed out enough being in war zones and helping to defend our freedoms. So those are the things that I think will be impacted initially, and I hope that all of you feel that you can always call my office in Louisville or in Washington if you have questions about any other impact of the government shutdown. So thank you for watching, and again, please don't hesitate to call our office if we can provide any other information for you. Take care, and thank you.